in this country, that is England, there are fewer regulations about how much it can contain. But we did find that there was something like 100-fold difference between some toothpaste and another. Now, in America, there has to be a warning saying that it is potentially damaging. Because, one of the worries you have about toothpaste, too, is that it's sweetened. And, toothpaste for kids has got strawberry and it's got Barbie on it and all sorts of things. And for a young kid, it looks like it's good enough to eat. And there have been many cases of fluoride poisoning where kids eat an entire toothpaste tube. And that is terribly, terribly dangerous. It can kill a child. So you've got it between the water. You've got high levels and varying levels in your toothpaste. Then you've got it in, as I say, all the other dental hygienic products. It's even in mouthwash, some mouthwash, which is kind of crazy too because, again, young kids oftentimes swallow it. So if you have a kid who's unsupervised with toothbrushing, they could have a real problem. And if it's in the water as well, you've got a double problem. But then, as I say, it's in so many areas, and it can be in huge areas in food that has had pesticides on it. You can get enormous amounts. But it's just the constant thing of having it in the water that is the icing on top of the cake that can just push you way over the limit.
What's incredible about this, too, Lynn, is that you have these two camps, the group that is very opposed to fluoride, and then the other group that says, no, there's no problems with it. I find that to be just unbelievable, that it would be so diverse with those kinds of people. One side and one side.
I think that the people who are on the pro-fluoride lobby have really taken the stupid pills because the evidence is just so overwhelming to show the dangers of it. I mean, we're not just talking about mottled teeth. We're talking about osteoporosis. We're talking about cancer. We're talking about thyroid problems. We're probably even talking about chronic fatigue syndrome. I mean, there's new evidence linking it to chronic fatigue. And then you've got, the danger of children taking this and an acknowledged danger by the authorities, because the FDA has said that they have to have on there to watch out for kids having fluoride. And you've got this thing unsupervised in the bathroom.
You're going to love this. I get this fast blast from someone who says he works near a city water plant, and he says when the truck comes to deliver the fluoride, it's got on one side of the container poison.
I know. I mean, so let's put it in our water supply. I mean,
it's poison if you put too much in, but it's not poison if you put a little. It doesn't make any sense.
It's insanity. I mean, it is absolute insanity. And we see this with lots of different areas of medicine. When, iodized salt. I mean, another place where we find lots of problems of thyroid with places where there's very strict regulations on iodizing salt or the water supply. Many countries have got problems like that. So anytime you do this kind of mass medication, you're not taking care of and you're not taking account of any kind of individuality, and you're causing all kinds of problems, and not considering that you're giving the same amount to a tiny child as you are to an adult. Imagine a thirsty child on a hot summer day. They're taking in maybe 4 times what they ought to.
Well, this is one of the most mind-boggling things that I've talked with somebody about in a long, long time. Well, when we come back, Lynn, I want to find out what we can do both politically and what can we also do, one, with the water supply. As far as the toothpaste is concerned, that's easy. Just start finding toothpaste that doesn't have fluoride in it if you don't want to use fluoride. But let's talk about the possibilities of what you can do with water. Do you distill it? Do you get bottled water? What do you do with that? And also we'll talk about some other things as well. A little bit later on, we'll open up the phone lines with this topic, of course. I might even open them up a little earlier to give you an opportunity to talk with Lynn McTaggart about this just incredible situation, fluoride, and the possible dangers to all of us. I'm George Norrie, and this is Coast to Coast AM. I know, for example, Lynn, the city of San Diego, I do not believe they put fluoride in their water yet. However, the company that has been contracted with them plans to do so by 2005 because I believe it's a California law. What can people do, first of all, legislatively, to try to get these things changed?
Okay. I mean, they should probably understand a little bit about how this is regulated. In the U.S., and this is one of the big problems too. The first laws about this were developed by the U.S. Public Health Service in the 1940s and 50s. So, and at that point, when they set the levels, they assumed that fluoride, the main place people were going to get their fluoride was from the water. This was way before the whole fluoridated toothpaste industry came to effect. Now, they set the levels, and they are still create recommendations for fluoride use, and to talk about what's the optimum amounts. Also in America, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, is responsible for the safety and the quality of drinking water. They set it at 4 parts per million, which is far beyond double what
by the way,
find. A lot of experts say is the threshold for causing problems.
This is the same agency that approved MTBEs in gasoline, the fuel additive MTBE,
yes,
which leaks into water wells. One capsule can render that water useless, and it's a cancer-causing agent. And I know that has been a battle brewing in the Midwest for a long time, and they even say a cupful tossed into like a swimming pool size, you could never, ever touch that water again.
It's incredible. I mean, we shouldn't call it the Environmental Protection Agency. It should be the Environmental Pollution Agency, because of in some of the current administrations, the things that they've been allowed to do to pollute our environment are outrageous. Now, I mean, fluoride, for instance.
Well, I wouldn't even say current administration. This has been going on for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just the I think this is one of those hot potatoes that no administration wants to touch. But I mean, with fluoride, I mean, in Florida, it's banned from being dumped in the ocean, but it's allowed to be put in the drinking water.
You got to be kidding me.
No. I mean, they recognize
you can't dump it in the ocean, which would probably make it, 0.000 parts per billion because of the size of the water, but you can dump it in water that we drink. Unbelievable.
Yeah, because they know, this comes out of phosphate fertilizer and glass manufacturing, and so they consider it a plant waste. So they consider it a pollutant. But now, an interesting thing, we were talking about the EPA and the Public Health Service. When this was introduced in Florida into the fluoridation of the drinking water, they waived all testing procedures. So, maybe your view, George, about conspiracy here isn't too far-fetched.
No, I mean, there's something else going on here, and I just can't seem to put my finger on it. But I just, I lately have been just questioning a lot of things that we used to think we believed a long time ago, and this is one of them, because it just doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't.
No. I mean, it's like when we start going on about, this health freedom movement we've talked about, and we try to find out why, for instance, laws were passed against vitamins in Europe, and why a lot of the vitamin manufacturers didn't stand up and shout. And then we started looking into the vitamin, the trade associations, and we found that the people who had these trade associations worked for companies like Pfizer, drug companies.
Yep.
And we started thinking, wow, maybe the thought of a conspiracy isn't too far-fetched, or at least certainly in an industrial master plan, put it that way.
Okay, so back to legislation. Can you bombard your legislator and say, get this out of my water system and get it out now?
Well, I think, there are enough people who in power who oppose this, that first of all, of course, you write to your congressman. But I think, also try writing to the American Medical Association and finding out people who are opposed to it and getting together, look on websites, anti-fluoridation websites, and find out, who are the big movers and shakers who are against this, and join up with them to try to do find out who the major lobbyists are and try to really push. But go see your congressman. Provide them with information. I mean, we've got loads at What Doctors Don't Tell You. We've got all the chapters in verse.